Hello.
Morning.
Morning, Leo. Sorry about the low light. My girlfriend is still asleep actually. I can turn that little light on so you could probably see me better. Is that okay?
Well, you're not doing video, are you, for the podcast?
No, no. I'm
Yeah,
just
it doesn't
saying
matter.
so that way you can see me. Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Okay, cool. So how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm doing good, sir. So I had obviously there's been a lot of things going on in the world right now.
Hmm.
Um and I guess we can just jump right into it. I'm recording right now, just so you know.
Fair enough.
And I'll edit like the little like intro that we start. So
Mhm.
just go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself, Leon, if you want to, for the
Okay.
podcast.
Um,
Let everybody know where they can find you and stuff like that.
okay. So, um, I started my career in food service. I was in food service for 16 years. I worked my way up to unit manager. Um, that was in my early 20s. I decided that while I was working for a good company at the time, um, the food service wasn't going to be the best place for me in the future. So I hopped around from job to job for a while and eventually fell back on my computer skills. When I was in college, I took accounting. I was an accounting major, and I had to take some programming courses as part of filling my accounting major requirements. And so I had a little bit of background in computers, and this was the early years of computers. So this
Yeah,
is the 70s,
that's just
80s.
interesting because
Huh?
I love computers too. I dabble in building computers, so
Hmm.
that's interesting to hear about. You messing with computers in the '70s, like that's I'm sure it was worlds apart from what we're doing now with computers.
Um, I mean, the technology has changed. Um, so I bought one pre-built computer. I bought an HP,
Mm-hmm.
um, and HP was so the early leader was IBM, and
Interesting,
IBM, huh?
interesting,
Yeah,
because
the early leaders in the PC market. Well, in the PC market. So um, AT&T, the first processor I worked with was an 8088.
mm-hmm.
Um, And I think that boy had like 256K of memory. That was huge then. That was a lot of memory.
Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah, it is. It
That's
is.
like absolutely nothing these days.
It's a, that's a file.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
simple
yeah.
file.
That's
That's
one
a
file.
picture file.
Yeah.
Um, and so um, then I encountered the IBMs, and IBMs were very restrictive in allowing you to upgrade systems.
Hmm. As far as
H,
software,
huh?
as far as software or hardware.
No, as far as hardware.
Oh, okay.
So in order to exchange a video card or buy a peripheral, you pretty much had to go to IBM. You couldn't get it
Mm-hmm.
from someplace else because they built that stuff so that um, you had to use their products in order to upgrade it. And HP did so they added a little more flexibility. So my first computer that I bought was an HP,
Okay.
um, and it had three memories, three expansion slots.
Mm-hmm.
So if I wanted to buy, peripherals, like at the time scanners started coming in and
Yeah.
cameras required a dedicated daughter card. So you had to have a daughter card. You connected it. You opened the box, put the daughter card in, and then you connected your camera to that daughter card. And so daughter cards were pretty popular. And that HP only allowed so much upgrade. So I could only put so many cards in there because it only has so many expansion slots. So after that, I started building my own machines.
Nice.
Putting on buying a case, buying a motherboard.
Mm-hmm.
Because even then, the video card was built onto the motherboard.
Oh, really?
If you wanted to upgrade, you had to buy a daughter card, and if you didn't have any room, then you couldn't. You'd had to sacrifice something to make
Yeah.
something else work.
Yeah.
So anyway, I fell back on my computer skills and eventually got into tech work. So I've done pretty much everything you can do with a PC in tech work. I did level 1, 2, and 3 tier support, help desk support. I would build machines, connected networks. I worked with Token Ring, Ethernet. I've connected mainframes. I've worked with RISC boxes. I've worked with Unix machines. When Unix was popular, that's been fairly replaced by Linux,
Mm-hmm.
which is POSIX compliant operating system. I remember when Unix was the granddaddy. So I've done, website design, video editing, graphics editing.
That's awesome.
You name it, I've done it with computers.
That's so cool because I grew up. I'm 34 now, and my background was fast food, fast food to oil field, and excuse me, that's where I'm still at now. It's not as interesting, and I probably wish I would have chosen a different career path and something like technology like that because I'm very interested in that kind of thing. I've built 3 computers so far, and I basically learned how to do it just on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really have any formal training, but you'd be surprised the things you can learn on YouTube. I'm sure you know that.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think so. I have seen. So one of the things you mentioned is that there's a huge difference in technology from now from '76, and actually, it is pretty similar.
Really?
The architecture of the PC hasn't changed much. The power and the ability of the machines to accomplish information has changed. So
that makes sense.
There was I worked with the 8088. I had a Commodore 64. So I
I've
worked
heard of
with a
those.
Commodore. There was another one. So I worked with a lot of different, or several different types of machines.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, the computer is CPU, RAM, hard drive, video card. That has not changed.
Yeah, it's the same. You're right.
It's the same. It's just now we're at 128 gigabytes of RAM. We're at 5 terabytes, 6 terabytes of hard drive space. We're at Wi-Fi, because in the early days, of course, they didn't have Wi-Fi. It was RJ45 connections or token ring. And then your network was not built onto the motherboard, so you had to have a daughter card.
Yeah.
So the technology, while it has advanced in sophistication, it's still basically what it was before.
That's a great point. I've never thought of it that way, and I agree with you completely. It's the same. I'm looking at my computer right now, and it's the same thing as you said: the motherboard, the graphics card, and the RAM and the space. Really, that's cool. So I'm going to ask you a question. This is kind of way out there. How do you think IBM made it through all their dark past that they actually had tied into the Nazis in World War II? How IBM was the first company to make the machines to count the Jews in the concentration camps. I'm not sure if you knew about that.
Yes,
I'm kind of
I'm aware of that.
I'm interested in a lot of stuff like that that most people don't think about or even know about. And it's weird how nowadays people can get canceled left and right for things, but these huge companies that have so much money and power that they just seem to be untouched by things like that.
Well, so there are companies that were instrumental in the slave trade in the United States and Europe that are still Volkswagen was a company that well, I know Volkswagen had some ties with some nefarious.
Yes, Hitler basically started the first
Right,
Volkswagen.
right, and
Yeah,
then
that's another example.
Toyota made the kamikaze planes, the spotters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it was
I didn't know
Toyota.
that.
I think it was
That makes sense.
Toyota.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they're a Japanese company.
right. And
And
so, so your question is, how do they survive and continue on, and they don't get canceled?
right, basically.
So, so one of the arguments that people have used for past behavior is you have to remember the time.
Mm,
You have to remember when things were going on.
yeah.
So it has never been, I ain't gonna say never, but it is during the time that these companies were doing the things that they did, they believed they were doing the right thing. Okay.
Interesting.
So when they did those things, so there was a lot of money to be made in slavery.
Definitely.
There was a lot of money to be made in military
Yep. It still
support.
is.
It still is.
Mm-hmm.
So those companies' responsibility to their shareholders, to themselves, was survival.
Yeah.
So in order to survive, they did things that may have brushed up against the line, but they didn't see it as over the line. So
Do
now
you go
move
ahead?
forward, 20 years, 50 years, where we are now, and we look back, and all of that shit looks. I don't know if do you allow the
Yeah,
adult
go ahead.
language
Say
here?
whatever you want, man.
Fair
Free
enough.
speech, buddy.
We look back now, and all of that shit looks nefarious.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so how do you then? So at the time that IBM was the things that you mentioned about IBM is child's play to some of the shit IBM probably has done.
Yeah, that's just what we know about.
That's what we know about. So if you want to cancel IBM, do some. We need to do some real research into some of the shit that went on.
Yeah.
Because IBM was one of those companies that was notorious at anti competitive practices. They were the grandfather of some of that shit. So,
yeah.
because I was telling
yeah.
you had to buy IBM products to upgrade IBM machines.
Mm-hmm.
And
So,
even
yeah.
then, people knew that that in order for other companies to survive, you had to open up your architecture so that anybody can buy a video card from NVIDIA or AMD
Yeah.
or there
Third
have
party
been other
companies.
video companies that have failed because they weren't able to get into and create a market for their product because hardware manufacturers, PC manufacturers struck up deals with other video card companies to be the supplier for them.
Yes, and that's still going on.
Right. There was a time when if you bought a machine, if you bought a pre-built machine and you opened that box, you voided the warranty. You couldn't work on your own shit. So that was anti-competitive.
Yeah.
So companies have done some you can look at companies and you can find all kind of stuff.
So
Microsoft was built on the backs of other companies.
yes,
Microsoft took other. Go ahead.
I think for sure Bill Gates did not write that code. I think for sure Bill Gates possibly either stole or was given that technology to start Microsoft. I've heard stories. I don't know as much as I should about that, but that's another totally thing. But I like what you were saying about how these companies that they survived, they did a bunch of evil things back in the day because that was the times, like you're saying. That's like their excuse. And I feel like if we had Apple and Facebook and Twitter back in the 1800s, early 1800s, when slavery was going around, I think they would be the biggest companies that would be pushing slavery. If you ask me, they would probably be trying to trade slaves on Facebook because I feel that these companies are doing evil things today, and they for sure would be doing those type of things. I mean, look at Twitter has Hezbollah on their Twitter page, but they banned Donald Trump. I mean, that's pretty much insane to me, completely insane. They have people saying Allah Akbar, threatening Americans, saying they want all Americans to die on Twitter. And if you look at Nike, it has slave camps in with the Muslim Uyghurs in China as today, and there's open slave trades in Pakistan and like all these crazy countries. All this insane stuff is still going on, but yet we're arguing about the most petty things in America that don't seem as serious as what's going on the other side of the world. And I guess that's just compartmentalization, that we don't care as much because it doesn't affect us or we don't see it every day on the news. But I think people need to start thinking globally and see about what's the bigger issue across the ocean, and about all these companies that have slave camps, like I was saying, Nike, that has been out in the open, that they are pushing to continue their slave work so that for profit.
Okay. Okay. So let's take Nike, for instance. Mm-hmm. So Nike has been slammed for child sweatshops.
Yes.
In the eastern, in the East, in the Far East. One of the things that you mentioned was the Uyghur population being exploited by Nike. Mm-hmm. Now, you got to keep in mind here, China, for the most part, was a closed society for a long time. So in order to do business in China, you had to work with the Chinese government. So anything that happened in China either sanctioned or knew about.
Yes, 100%. The government.
So it wasn't a matter of Nike just decided we're going to take advantage of an underclass in China without China's full support or knowledge of.
But China is evil, though. Their government. In my
right, I understand it's your opinion.
Yeah.
So any government on the planet, Syria, because
there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. So, and I'm trying to think of some of the more nefarious ones.
Yeah. Us. I mean, we do some horrible shit too. We've done horrible shit.
So yeah. So any government's responsibility is the protection and growth of its people,
which has been completely ignored in all around the world for hundreds of years.
Really? So tell me a government that existed that no longer exists.
You have tons of empires. You have the Roman Empire that
You
completely
had the Roman Empire
collapsed.
fail, but the Roman Empire sprung up out of.
Um, what do you mean? Sprung
So
up
I
out
mean,
of.
so 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 whereas you can go back into history
Mm-hmm.
and you can uh, find governments that existed, and then you can see where that government either was co-opted or conquered by
Soviet
another
Russia.
government.
Yeah, Soviet Russia ended also, and they
But yeah, but
killed millions.
Russia still exists as
Yeah,
a nation,
yeah,
right?
but the Soviet Union government, as far as communism was concerned, collapsed 100%, and now they're into
Really,
Russia.
you say 100%. So
Yeah,
you mean
well,
that there are no communist traces? There's no traces of communism in the current regime.
in Russia,
Hmm.
I don't think they. I know that China is communist, but I don't know. I don't know if I can say that Russia is 100% not communist. I don't know enough, but I do know that the communist Soviet Union did fall for sure. I
Well,
know it.
it fell as a communist type nation.
Yeah, they had to
So
restart because they
they
killed
implemented
80
some
million.
different. Um, so it didn't disappear.
No,
It
no,
changed.
they. I mean, they regroup. Everything regroups.
Everything changes.
Yeah.
So when you say, so when I ask the question, name
Mhm.
one that's gone away, I say they usually change. They
Yeah.
usually adapt.
Yes.
That's the nature of human beings,
Hmm.
and human beings create governments, and so
Hmm.
governments are going to have that adaptability. So I, so whereas you say a government is evil,
Hmm. People are evil.
there are people who are willing to do unscrupulous things in order for power, for self-existence. If you were
Yes.
pushed into, let's say you are at work,
Hmm.
or right now,
Yep.
somebody comes rushing into your house,
They get shot.
you're going to blow this ass away.
Yeah.
Right. Now, you had options. You had a way to end that situation without killing that person.
If
Does that make you evil?
no,
Why not?
because he was trying to do evil on me,
You
and
don't know that. What you know is that he broke into your house. He may have been being chased by someone that was trying to kill him. He felt he had no options. So he broke into your house. He's looking for a weapon.
well,
You don't know if
he
he's
better
coming after
explain
you.
himself fast. He better explain himself very, very fast.
But that's you, you're not when you hear that noise, your thought isn't, I'm going to go down and find out what this guy wants. Your thought
No,
is, I'm going to put some lead in his ass because I got to protect myself
and my family and my
and your
kids.
family.
Yes, and if
Okay.
that's evil, um, then there is nothing good in the world. And this
So now
world is
scale that up
complete.
to a government.
I do not put anything past any government. Our government that claims to be great is has done horrible shit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at Agent Orange.
Agent Orange.
We spread a huge chemical all over Vietnam to try to scatter all the Viet Cong to get out of there.
Well,
And
Agent
now
Orange
it's
was an anti-foliage. It
yeah,
was
yeah,
designed
yeah.
to kill to
Yes,
kill the forest or kill
yes.
the green so that
They would get out of they could see the people.
so that they could see.
Yeah.
So they didn't find out till later
Hmm.
that it caused cancer.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, people were growing third legs over there and stuff. Still to
I
this
understand
day.
that, but but keep in mind there was an armed conflict, and one of the things that people says is everything's fair in war. Well, there is no such thing as a fair war.
No.
There is no such thing as an
Well,
ethical war.
they have the Geneva Convention, but
That's to try to make war look humane. There's not shit ethical about shooting somebody, is it?
Yeah, no,
No,
no, no.
because everybody has a right to live. You have an option.
I don't
You don't have to
understand why.
shoot.
I don't understand why you're uh trying to rationalize to me or yourself that like Agent Orange was almost not a good thing, but uh, um a rational thing to do at the time. It seems like.
I'm not trying to rationalize that. So
Uh huh.
you've
I'm just saying we've
adapted
done.
an idea
Uh huh.
about the intent. Because when you say evil, evil is a evil is a
The opposite of good.
connotation that says someone knew what was right, what was wrong, what was good, what was bad, and chose
The evil path.
the evil path.
Yeah.
If we look at it and every aspect of it, there's a possibility that they didn't choose to do what they did, or maybe the choice that they made, just like I talked about the guy coming in your house. You're not interested in any explanation as he's standing in your house with a weapon. You have zero concerns about what is happening in that person's life. You are in defense mode. And if we apply that to governments, if we apply that to other companies, then it becomes more nuanced than just they're evil.
But
And that's all
that's
I'm trying to say is I'm I understand where you're coming from.
yeah, because I mean, if someone walked, that's just a weird analogy because everyone knows if you go in someone's house, you're breaking and entering. You're uh, automatically committing a felony as soon as you enter into someone's home without someone inviting you. That's a felony
Mm-hmm.
right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, I know that.
Mm-hmm.
And if this dude wanted to talk and he had a weapon, I would leave him at the door and let him knock. If he's trying to kick my door down, if he's saying help, help, someone's trying to get me, yeah, I'd open the door. I'd have a gun in my hand, but I would open the
Mm-hmm.
door and see what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So and that goes to police officers too. It's very, very hard and very, very it happens so fast that it's not necessarily you're making an evil decision, but you're making a decision,
Mm-hmm.
and that you have to do it very fast. And a lot of military guys go through that too. You have to it's a life or death situation within seconds, and that's a hard decision to make. And sometimes you make the wrong one. We don't have time to sit down and contemplate these things for hours and talk
Mm-hmm.
about them and
Mm-hmm.
discuss them and think about it. Let me think. What should I do about this?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's like you got 2 seconds to decide. You're gonna shoot this person or get shot, or that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to pinpoint evil in that sense. You can pinpoint evil when you're making full-blown plans to round up a group of people and use them as slaves,
Mm-hmm.
in any sense, or basically that's why they say first degree murder is intent. Like you planned it out. Like I planned out to go kill that guy. You had time to think about it. You had time to say no. You had time to rationalize it. But like other murder, like murder 2 and 3, I think is you murdered someone. I'm not sure. Help me on that one. I think murder 2 and 3 is. I'm not too sure. But the
Oh,
point
okay.
is,
So
that you did it fast, I think, and you weren't like waking up thinking, "I'm gonna go kill this guy today." You know.
mm-hmm. So I'd have to I don't retain
Hmm.
what murder 2 and murder
Right.
3
Yeah.
is.
That's. Hmm.
So I'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
But I think murder is intent,
Hmm.
and manslaughter is
On
without
accident.
intent.
Yeah.
Okay. So um, so in a scenario, it's got you and your girl are walking down the street.
Hmm.
As you're walking down the street, a car comes driving down the street, and 4 doors down, they start spraying the houses as they go down and spraying the people on the street
With bullets?
with bullets.
Okay.
There is no place to hide, and the only option you see to get out of the way of the bullets is a door of the house you and your girl are standing in front of. Do
Okay.
you stop and think, if I break into that person's house, they have a right to shoot me because I've committed a felony? Or do you think
I would
I have,
understand.
I
would understand if
exactly. But
I, but that's
but
not on them though. But I'm saying
I
I would
get it.
understand. Like if I kicked in their door and someone shot me, I'd be like, well, I guess they
Right.
thought I was trying to
But
kick
you
down
had to
their
do what
house.
you had to do. Right.
Yeah, but I would understand. I wouldn't say that that's evil if they shot me. I just think that, hey, man.
I wasn't addressing the evil issue in that particular point,
Okay.
because I had to get you to the point of understanding that situations have nuance. Situations have factors that if you look at the factors, it may change your opinion about it.
Yeah.
I get that you don't like that companies, that IBM did some of the shit that they did.
Mm-hmm.
I get that you don't appreciate, what governments have done in the furtherance of their political agendas. I get that. And some of it is evil.
Yeah.
But part of that is, I think we have to understand that there's nuance.
But there is
There's
no
something else
nuance.
behind it.
There is no nuance in having slave Uyghurs. That's like murder one. That's intent.
Okay, so let's take the Uyghur situation, where, let's say, the Nike sweatshops.
Yep.
So Nike goes into a country,
Mm-hmm.
China, and China says, if you want to do business in China, you got to do business with Chinese companies. That's not unrealistic.
Well, what do you mean, like hiring a company to build your stuff?
You can't. If you set up your factory, you got to hire Chinese workers.
Yes, and pay them.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But they don't have laws like we do.
Nike goes in. They hire these Chinese companies to do work for them. The garment industry is the same, textiles. They go in. They say, we will pay you $3 per shirt, per pair of shoes. And these have to be built to our specifications. Here's our specifications. Here's a check to get you started with some raw materials.
Mm-hmm.
And we will pay you the rest of it when you deliver. So the company is a Chinese company, then hires Uyghurs.
No.
That's definitely how some of it works.
Yeah, but
that is absolutely how some of it works.
But they don't hire anybody. They took them in because they were Muslims.
Well, however you want to put it, the Chinese company does this.
Yeah, but my point is,
Nike goes in and says, so then there's an expose, or a Western news agency finds this out. Who knows? Maybe the
Nike
Chinese government, in an attempt to extort money out of Nike, set in motion that this be discovered.
That would mean that Nike is a better company than, or that would mean that China is trying to do good and try to get Nike in trouble. But I do not think that's the case.
And so, what do you base that decision on?
Well, there's a bill that came into to our government that said that they tried to pass a bill to stop China from using Uyghurs. They had aerial satellite footage of these camps, and a bunch of defectors proving that they had been slaves for China, the Chinese company in Xinjiang. So it's not like China wanted us to find out. We had to get satellite images and people that escaped these camps and was able to tell their stories. So I don't know why that. I don't know if you're trying to say that Nike didn't know, because they did know. They have to know. That's like saying people that had slaves back in the day didn't know that they were slaves. They thought that they just walked onto their plantation and said, "Hey, can you guys work for free, or we'll pay you?" But it's kind of like just turning a blind eye, like saying Nike knows. They have billions and billions and billions of dollars. They could easily send people over there to know who they're hiring. I think they just don't give a damn. They just think we can make products way cheaper in China. We're not going to make our products in America because it would cost a fortune. So we're just going to go ahead and play by China's rules, because China also doesn't give a damn. So it's just profits. Like you're saying about IBM, they thought that they were doing the right thing at the time, and that it didn't matter to them. They thought it was just about profit. And I think that that's exactly what's going on now.
Okay. I you have your reasons
Mm-hmm.
for you know, grasping at those ideas,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not trying to move you off of that.
Okay.
But so when you postulate that to me and you
Yeah.
explain your reasons,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing in my mind, I'm an investigator.
Mm-hmm.
Not and
Yeah, me too.
not an investigator in such that I run down leads to
Yeah.
try to
You
build a
look into
case.
things.
I look into things and I
Mm-hmm.
ask questions.
As do I.
And when I ask questions, very, 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 very few things that people do are black and white. Very few things. So Nike being a bad company, Nike contributes millions of dollars to charity. Is that a
That's just
bad
writing a
thing?
check, though.
Huh?
That's just writing a check, though.
I understand, but is it a bad thing?
It is if it's money that they get from where they're getting money. That's almost like blood diamonds. You know how they had those. They would get people basically. You've heard of blood diamonds, I'm sure.
Sure.
Uh, it's kind of like that. I mean, hey, they're getting the money from the diamonds, but at what cost?
Hmm.
You know.
But a lot of times the people who were receiving the blood diamonds didn't know they were blood diamonds.
Yes, they didn't know, but it's still the company knew how they were getting the
I
diamonds.
understand the company knew,
I'm
but
blaming the company. I'm not blaming anybody else or
okay,
people
but
who
there are
buy the
companies. Okay,
products.
so there were companies that were in charge of exporting blood diamonds.
Mhm.
They were importing it to companies outside of Africa.
Yes.
They were exporting those diamonds outside of Africa to other companies to resell.
Yes.
So some of the companies did not know where the diamonds came from. They believed that the diamond excavation was legitimate.
That's hard to believe.
Well,
I,
and that's where
but
you and I have a
but you're
difference of
taking
an
their word
idea.
for yeah, but
Huh?
you're taking their word for it. I you would have to get, you know what I mean? Like I think that they're turning a blind eye,
I
and they're
understand.
just that
Do
like,
you eat
oh,
meat?
go ahead.
Do you eat meat?
Oh, yes.
What kind of meat do you eat?
Everything.
Pork,
Everything.
beef,
I love it all. I love
chicken?
it. I love it.
So what is your take on the cages that they keep chickens in?
I think it's messed up
Well, why do you eat chicken?
because I got to eat, man.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. There's an unethical practice of
Yes.
keeping chickens in tiny, tiny fucking cages,
Mm-hmm.
feeding them steroids, not
Mm-hmm.
giving them sunlight, treating
Yeah.
them like what they are to slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
And you're supporting that by eating chicken
I'm admitting, yes. I'm admitting that I know. I'm not saying, oh,
that you
really?
know.
I'm
that
not
you
saying
know
I
where this
know.
comes from, and yet you're doing it
Yes.
anyway.
Yes, and that's what they're doing. Yes, so we're both making our own points. That's like saying
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
All righty.
Because you're saying that I do know, right? And that's
Right.
what I'm
You
saying. Nike
know.
does, yeah, and Nike does know that they're doing the shit, and that would
Maybe they
be,
do and maybe they
yeah,
don't.
and that would like be me saying to you right now, like, what? They keep chickens in cages and they don't give them sunlight? No way! Come on, man, you're joshing me. That's not true. That's what Nike's doing when they say, "Hey, did you know y'all have your slaves?" No, come on, are you serious? No, that can't be right. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
All
yeah,
righty.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to something else.
All right.
So I know you've heard, and I've listened to some of your podcasts.
Very good.
I wanted to hear what your ideas were, and I realized after a few hours that my take was that you are compassionate about your ideas. Um, you you obviously think these things through from your perspective. Obviously, being from another time since you were born before me, and that you have a different perspective, obviously, because you've been through things that I haven't been through. And but I still disagree with a lot of things that you're saying, but that's okay. You know,
Mhm.
we can disagree with each other.
Sure.
But I realized that like I said, I'm not just saying, oh, Leon's wrong, he's completely wrong. I just say, okay, Leon is in a different world than I am, and he has a different perspective than me, and I can respect that 100%. But I do have different opinions.
Sure.
So
Share them with me. So
yeah,
because
that's why we
I
should do
wish you
these
had
things.
come on the podcast
Hmm.
and share them so that we could discuss them.
Right.
But yeah, I would like to discuss some of them with you. What do you disagree with?
Sure. I listened to, I think, two so far,
Hmm.
or three.
Hmm.
Um, the one with Colin Kaepernick, Nick, I disagree with that one wholeheartedly. I would say the one about defunding the police, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. So
Hmm.
let me just throw a question at you, or let me tell you how I feel about Kaepernick.
Okay.
So um, he was he had a really good season one year. I think they almost did. I don't know. I'm not sure if they made it to the Super Bowl or they almost made it to the Super Bowl. But after that, he started declining, and he started throwing a whole bunch of interceptions and getting tackled a lot, and was putting up real bad numbers. So they benched him,
Hmm.
and after they, and that happens to anybody who doesn't perform, obviously, and because
Really?
yeah.
All right.
Well, no, because
I'm gonna save my responses because I want
okay,
you to get out what
okay.
you're saying.
Yeah, because I think that they might be pushing people for money, even though they're not that great. Um,
Hmm.
and I think that's exploitation. And
Hmm.
it's usually, I'm just gonna say, they're usually black people that they're pushing out there because they want to be woke or they want to pretend. And there's amazing black. Obviously, most basketball and football players are black, and they're better than pretty much all of them. So that's no excuse for Kaepernick for putting up bad numbers. So so they started benching him, and he kneeled. I think maybe he was trying to get back in the spotlight because he was pretty much on his way out. Um, and that's a whole nother thing. But kneeling for the flag, I don't know if you've ever heard of a man named David Goggins. Have you heard that name before?
It sounds like I might have, but
He's a African American man that was in the army. He did 3 hell weeks. He runs 100-mile races like nothing. He runs in the snow. He's done all these amazing inhuman things that would be impossible to any of us. He's broken the pull-up record to where his hands were bleeding. He's ran 100 miles where he pissed and shit himself and almost blacked out, and he kept running. And this dude's amazing. I would highly recommend you check him out. His name's David Goggins. He's an amazing person, and I look up to him, and I use him for inspiration
okay.
in my own life. But that being said, what he said about the kneeling about the flag was pretty spot on to me.
Mhm.
He said that I'll never kneel for the flag. I'm paraphrasing it, by the way. I'll never kneel for the flag because that flag stands for freedom, and you can't change the hearts of men that were that are going to do racist things and be racist. But at the end of the day, I'm free, and I'm going to stand for the flag for that reason.
Mhm.
Because no matter what, I'm free and I can do whatever I want, and that's what the flag stands for.
Mhm.
So that I think that's a great take on that whole thing.
Okay.
That yeah,
Okay. Um, can he be president?
yes.
Really?
Who?
David
David
Goggins, can he
Goggins?
be president?
I think he should be president.
I didn't say could he, should he. I said, can
Anybody
he?
can be president.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
So
look at
why have we
Trump.
only had one black president? Why have
How
we
many
never
black
had a
people have
Mexican
ran?
president?
How many
Why
black
have we
people
never
have
had a
ran?
female president?
How many have they ran? You have to run to be president. How many black people have ran for
Right.
president?
How many had the opportunity to run? How many
Anybody
could
can
get on a
run.
big ticket?
Anybody.
How many got support from the major organizations?
Should they be forced to do it, or should they do it
It's
in
not
their own
about
merit?
force.
But
They
but but
kept
that
them off the ticket for centuries in this
I agree.
country.
Yes, they did do that till the Civil Rights
So
Act
David
for sure.
Goggins talking about being free
Yes,
means he's ignoring the fact that racism kept a lot of people off the opportunities to get what they were. How many
and
black
yes,
and Mexican and female CEOs do we have in this country?
I'm not sure, but like I said,
It's small.
okay,
Why do you think it's small?
but this is my thing.
Because blacks and women and Mexicans aren't very good?
No, because they didn't pursue that. Uh,
Right. We don't strive to achieve like white people do. You believe
no,
that?
I think there is just different areas, usually for some reason, a lot of white people start businesses, but a lot of people, like let's say black people want to get into sports and stuff like that. Um, I'm
You
just I
you're drinking the Kool-Aid there. You're
I
drinking the
but
Kool-Aid.
okay, let me go a different route, not race. Females, how
Mhm.
many females do you see female roofers?
I don't see a lot, but I have
Zero.
seen some. Mhm.
Zero. You do not see. How many female bricklayers do you see? How many female women plumbers do you see?
Well,
Zero.
how many of
Should
them
we
wanted to
force
be
them?
plumbers?
Exactly. That's
How
what I
many of
mean.
them wanted to be plumbers,
That's what I mean.
but they were told to stay in the kitchen? How many of them
None.
wanted to be roofers
Zero.
and couldn't join the roofing
None.
guild? How
Nobody wants
many?
to do that.
You have
Zero.
no idea. You have
Come on, man.
no
Come on.
idea.
Come on. I
You
don't
really
even want to
don't.
be a
You have
roofer.
no idea. There are
But
women. There are women that are serving active duty frontline combat positions, and you telling me they can't do fucking roofing?
I'm saying they don't want to. I'm saying
They
that
want to stand in front of a bullet, but they don't want to stand in the heat.
some women. I mean, I guarantee I don't want to do roofing. I'm sure people in the active military don't want to do roofing. I'm just saying that if and they've been left to, they've tried this out. They tried to leave them to their own devices in a, I think it was Russia or another country, and it still happened that way. Like that's just the way humans are. Women are more compassionate. They're more into being around people and doing people things like doctors and stuff like that. And men are more aggressive and into doing harder things and not harder things, but more physical labor. And women are more social. Women are more social than men, I would say. And so that's why we branch off into these different areas that are natural. Like I said, at dinner time, my wife cooks dinner and I'm outside cutting the grass. Sure, she can cut the grass, but if I asked her, "Hey, can you cut the grass today?" and I'll cook some chicken or something, she will not do it. She don't want to do it. And so, like how you were saying, you can open that up into a larger scale, and that's basically why it's the way it is. I would say.
Okay.
hmm But back to David Goggins. Yes, for sure, black people were oppressed in America,
And
not
still
even
are.
that long ago.
And
Uh,
still are. So whatever
I,
David Goggins is talking about his freedom,
but I
he's
mean,
missed the mark.
when he says freedom, he means he can wake up in the morning and do whatever he wants.
No, he can't.
Sure he can. He's
No,
done
he
it.
can't.
He's been into the military. He writes books.
He has been into the
Uh,
military. He still can't do what he wants.
he does what he wants to do. He
He
doesn't
does what
he
he
doesn't
he does what he
he,
wants to do within the parameters of what he's allowed to do.
but that is a
If he wanted to be CEO of IBM tomorrow, could he be CEO of IBM tomorrow?
no,
No. So he
because
can't
he
do what he
doesn't
wants.
have, but that's like saying I want to be a millionaire. Can I be a millionaire tomorrow? No, I
Sure you
can't.
can.
And I'm white.
Sure you can.
So
You can be
I
a
have to
millionaire
work for
tomorrow.
it. I have to
It's
work for it.
available.
I have to work for it, but
Kim
no one's going to
Kardashian
hand it to me.
Kim Kardashian didn't work for her millions.
She
Why do
shaked
you
her
have to
ass,
work for
man.
yours? Huh?
She shaked
Why
her
do you
ass.
have to work for yours? She
Well,
didn't have to work for hers.
she did work for it, I would say.
Really? When Kim Kardashian had her first million, what did she do as a job?
She had sex with Ray J and
That's
put
not
her.
a job. That's not a job. That's not a job. That's a good one. That's not a job.
I mean, some would say
That's literally fucking your way to the top.
yes.
That's
Yes, it is. Yeah, and it
literally.
worked out. It
That's
worked.
just what it is.
It worked out for her well, I think. Now I'm pretty sure
I
she's a
don't
billionaire.
mean any real disrespect for the young lady. It's not her fault that a sex tape made her a millionaire.
But like you said, it's not her job. What did you want her to do? Go out in the fields and freaking start a farming company? No, that's what women do. They do jobs like that.
If you're gonna make millions, you should produce fucking something.
She produces a lot of stuff.
Yeah, she produces fame. Fame is not a product.
But this is what I'm talking about. You're saying a black person like David Goggins cannot be IBM tomorrow, nope. The CEO.
He can't. In the next 20 years, he can't be.
He knows nothing about IBM. He was illiterate. He said he could barely read, but
which is why I think he's saying all the shit that he's saying.
No,
because he doesn't understand that there are factors other than him that determine what he can and can't do.
He proved that he can do things that almost any person in America cannot do. And these are physical things.
Right.
And
they're individual achievements.
But I don't think you can say it's racism.
When you have to go through life, you have to work with other people, and they have influence over. You go to work every day. Your boss has influence over what you can and can't do at your fucking job.
Yes.
But they determine if you're going to be a success or not.
I determine if I'm a success or not. There's people. Yes.
You go in
absolutely.
And you can work your ass off.
No.
You can work your ass off and your boss could fire you.
But that is just you're just saying that like it doesn't happen.
No, I'm not just saying that. It's true. It's happened.
But it won't happen to me because I work really hard and I don't believe.
So you think all of the black people that have gotten fired didn't work hard too? They just were lazy and shiftless, and the people that fired them just knew that they weren't going to work out.
But these are hypotheticals.
They're not hypotheticals.
If you're going to say that, I need to hear.
There are not hypotheticals. There are tons of people. That's why they have the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, because people were getting fired for doing their job.
Black people?
All kinds of people. Black people, white people, Chinese people, Asian people.
Okay.
Mexican people.
Mm-hmm. But I agree with that.
Short people, fat people, thin people.
I agree with that. But yes, but I'm talking about 2020 and now. Like that.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm laughing because you know better.
I know, but I'm saying, like, yes, there was civil rights. Yes, black people were being oppressed for sure. but that ended. And I feel like if maybe because I was reading a lot about things that you had said about the nuclear family, and I knew a lot about it, but I wanted to go deeply into that and see what caused that, because it concerns me that a lot of families are being told that they do not need a man, and that the government will give you food stamps and welfare and you'll be fine. And I think that breeds, when it comes to the children, I think that destroys a child, because a man needs their father. And the more you take that father figure out, they don't know where to go to. So they go to a gang or a crime to fill that void. So I think the government has a lot to do. And if you want to say there's institutional racism, I think that is the main thing that is the institutional racism, where they set up shop in right after the I started reading it, and it was saying that feminism caused a lot of the problems, because they were telling the woman to be stronger and telling them that you don't need a man, and you can do it on your own. And that caused a lot of the problems, where they took the father out of the home. And uh and then and then you got the abortion clinics in lower income areas to kill off a lot of the babies too, and the majority of them, sad to say, are black babies. And I don't think that is also on purpose. If you look at Bill Gates, his main objective is population control. And his father was a chairman for Planned Parenthood. And to me, that's sickening to me. And for us to be looking up to a guy like Bill Gates, where his father was in the chair board of Planned Parenthood, when we know for a fact Margaret Sanger was a full-blown KKK Nazi, or not Nazi, but a white supremacist supporter, and she said that we need to get rid of these black people. And what better way to do it, would be to put abortion clinics in these neighborhoods. And so, if you want to say that things are racist, and that our government is racist, we need to be looking at that, because that, to me, that is a huge, bigger problem than what Colin Kaepernick did. That's petty. That's real petty shit, if you ask me, compared to what's really going on. It's like a diversion. They want to say, "Oh, look at Colin Kaepernick. He's kneeling. Let's get the red-blooded Republicans pissed off about that." Meanwhile, we're over here killing thousands and thousands of babies a day. Like, I don't understand why we're fighting about Kaepernick when something like that's going on every day.
Okay. So that was a lot of
Yeah, I know. Sorry. I just
no. That's you've that's what a discussion is about. Is
right.
about getting out ideas,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad that you got out your ideas. I am really glad that you invited me on your podcast.
Thank you, Leon.
Yeah, because because I like to be challenged.
Mm-hmm.
I like to be
Right.
challenged about my ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And
too.
so I hopefully, so one of the things you offered me at the beginning was to talk about my podcast. I have a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
My podcast is Altitude Adjustment. All you have to do is do a search on Altitude Adjustment, or you could do a search on Lions Den Productions, STL. And you should be able to find my podcast. My name is Leon Davis.
On Spotify, right? And
I am on Spotify. I'm on
that's the main one. That's
Google.
usually where people go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on Spotify, Google, Anchor, iTunes, the Apple Store, you name it, it's probably there. So
Great.
I'm probably there. Okay, so I like to be challenged on my ideas. I appreciate the opportunity, because this is
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming on.
My juices flowing first thing in the morning.
Good. I was looking forward to this. Because
very good.
I think we need to talk to people that we don't always agree with on all things, and we can agree on things too, which we do.
Every person that you talk to, you don't agree with on something,
right? Mm-hmm.
There's no person, even your partner, there's things that you disagree with.
Oh, absolutely.
Very good. So if you talk to someone, you're going to find some places that you don't agree.
Yes, for sure.
Alrighty. So let's start with the first thing you brought up was the nuclear family.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you started.
Yeah.
So the discussion about the nuclear family wasn't about the father being in the home. That's not what the nuclear family is about. The nuclear family is about the home situation being father, mother, children.
Yeah.
The United States started as a nomadic society with the Native Americans, and they lived in communities. Then the agrarian society moved in, where farming became the mode of living.
Yeah. It centralized everything.
In the farming communities, grandparents and great grandparents, everybody lived together as a family. The nuclear family says we eliminate everybody above the parents, that they have to have their own home. So it's just the father, the mother, and the children. That's what the nuclear family is.
Yeah. I did hear about you talking about all that stuff too.
Okay.
But go ahead and tell my audience what you thought about that.
So my argument is there are people arguing that we should go back to having the grandparents and great grandparents and cousins and aunts all living together. And so what I say is the nuclear family is the smallest unit because too many adults in the house do not get along.
Yes, and I agree with that. But the thing is, I don't think that that's like an old school way of looking at it. I mean, I would be pissed off if my uncle was here every day. I
Mm-hmm.
love my uncle to death,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, if you had a mansion, a gigantic 54-room mansion, maybe, I could have all my relatives here,
No,
but not in a 3-bedroom house.
no.
No,
If you had a mansion,
I'd probably kick them out
you
too.
had 110 rooms in your mansion,
Yeah.
and your family lived in 5 rooms way on the far wing,
Mm-hmm.
eventually they're going to do something to piss you the fuck off,
Yeah.
and you're
And
going to
like,
want them to get out.
yeah, especially if they
Right.
weren't paying no bills.
Even if they're paying their bills. It's just sometimes they like their music too loud, and you don't
Yeah.
feel like loud music that day.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they want to cook food that stinks up the house, and you don't feel like smelling that shit. So by it just being you and your girl, or you and your mate and your children,
Mm-hmm.
you control the environment to an acceptable level of compromise.
And I would agree with that. But also, I think that diverts away from the simple problem that a young boy doesn't have a father. And I think that's a major problem. And I know what you're saying. Yes, the nuclear family, they want us to be all living in a tribe. But you have to convert that into the times we are in now. And I think that we need to address I think you need to address the problem that the father is missing in a lot of these children's lives, and it does have an effect on people. That it's very important to have a father figure, I would say, to lead a child into a good direction, so they're not looking for that in other avenues.
Okay, so I'm going to address that, the father in the home and the
Mm-hmm.
women working in the same
Okay.
part of this conversation. Fair enough.
Okay. Yep.
So you were saying that the breakdown of the nuclear family was contributed to by women working, and that women felt that they didn't need men.
Not
Women
working,
working,
but not feeling that they don't need men.
right?
The
So
working part is fine.
women's independence from men was escalated during the many wars that we decided to fight.
Yes, I
Men
agree with
are
that.
territorial, we are combative, and that's, you look at the UFC, that's a microcosm of men's behavior. We get into a testosterone rage,
Yeah.
and we want to beat the shit out of anybody that's around us that looks like us.
Yes.
So men doing what men do, started wars,
Yep.
and they went out and they killed off a lot of the eligible population
Yes.
for
I agree with
women.
that.
So women had to step up
Yes.
and take control of the situation so that they can continue to survive.
And a lot of women had to do men's jobs at that time. Like in World War I and II, they were left at home with just their babies, and they were in the
Exactly.
plants,
And
and they
so
were roofing at that time.
and so and so we can't blame women for
Mhm.
wanting to step up and have a decent life. Let's
No,
blame the men that decided that they were going to go 1,000 miles away to bomb and shoot somebody.
and I agree with that. And I'm saying that yes, we shouldn't blame the women. We should blame the government, our government.
I'll come back to that. I'll try to circle back to that. But the father in the home is exacerbated by the fact that we're killing off fathers.
Yes, but we're also incentivizing women to be single. I don't know what it is with men that think that they can live. And I'm not trying to be offensive to anybody that grew up without a father, but I guarantee you that I don't think any men say I was better off without a father. And I'm sure men have thrived and found a way out and said I didn't have a father, but I found my uncle that raised me or my aunt that raised me that taught me the right way. And I think that's the main thing is being able to have an adult guide you, and frankly, the Lord guide people. And I think that's another thing that they're taking God out of schools, and I know there's separation of state and religion, but I think that having God in your life is also a great way to teach you morality and teach you things to be compassionate towards other
So,
people and to love
so
other
is this
people.
God Christian,
Oh yeah,
Muslim,
I'm a Christian. Yes, sir.
Jewish?
Yeah, I'm a Christian.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so is a Jewish God good enough?
Uh, the Jewish God is my God. If
Is the Muslim God your God?
no, I think that is a false God. I think it's 100% fake.
Okay. So
But
basically what you're doing is you're pushing one type of religion.
I have my belief
Mhm.
in Christianity. In Christianity, it says, "Do not have other gods before me. I am the one true God." I'm sure other religions say that too, but
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, there's good Muslims. There's people that
But we're not talking about good
and
Muslims. What we're talking about is religious influence in the family.
okay, yeah,
Right?
and I guess you
We're,
could
we're
say
trying
a
to
Buddha.
keep it in that vein, right?
Okay, yeah, a Buddhist family
Mhm.
can die, and even frankly,
Or Krishna,
atheists. Yeah, atheists can
atheist,
also raise good
agnostic.
kids. Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
Mhm.
But
Sure.
but it all comes back to being a guiding light for your child, and I
Yeah, but
feel
you could
like
be a guiding light and not have a religion or not have a
no, I
belief.
know that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like you could be, yeah, like an atheist can
Right.
be a great
So,
father.
but that was one of the things that you said has contributed to the downfall of the family.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
was a
that's one
lack of
of the
religion.
yeah. It's a multifaceted type deal, but I
Okay.
think the main thing is a guide of any respect, which is basically the father's job, to guide your child into a better life.
Yeah, but the mother gives has more influence and connection with children.
Yes.
Most cases, I'm not saying that's on all cases, but in
Mhm.
most cases, the mother develops a closer relationship
Yeah,
with
they're
the
more
child. Then, so
basically
why is it? So why is it the father then who's granted all the power, and the mother is ignored?
not that the mother's ignored. It's basically the man is the warden of the house. You got the
Warden.
woman.
That's not
Yeah.
a that's a charged word. You sure you want to go with that one?
The warden. Okay. Okay. So I know, and I'm sure this is global. Yvette talks. I'm sorry. I don't need to bring my girlfriend into it, but um, they asked son to do something, and if he don't want to do it, she calls me. She calls in the warden, and I go over there and I say, "All right, boy, you know what time it is. Come on, let's go." And
Hmm.
he'll listen to me. And I guess that's just a male's intuition to follow another male, or listen to a more masculine, because women are more compassion. She's the one that will she's the one that he'll cry on her shoulder, but me, it's not that way. I'll be the stern one, and I think you need both.
So, uh, so in the family, it is quite possible that the mother is the disciplinarian, the
It's
stern one,
happened, I'm sure.
and the father is the compassionate one that gives all the hugs and kisses. So it's not, that one's not necessarily a gender role assignment. But yes, the having compassion, and having the conformity, or the looking for the word anyway, the guiding principles,
Mm-hmm.
um, is both parents' responsibility.
Yes.
That changes when you start adding aunts, uncles, and cousins as
Yeah.
adults in a house.
Yeah, because then you
That's
got
why I'm for the nuclear family, is that the message then becomes consistent, because the father and the mother work together to make sure that the message is consistent and that it's not muddled by having
yes.
other adults in the house. And that's why I'm for the nuclear family
Uh-huh.
and not for what we had before that, the agrarian family.
Yes, I completely agree with that one. That one I think we can both agree on for sure.
Very good.
Okay,
So
great.
another thing that impacts the father in the house, was during the early, I want to say 60s, and 70s, the aid to dependent children, or food stamps program, had in it a provision where a woman could not receive food for her family. She could not feed her children if there was a man in the house.
Yes, yes, that's mhm. I
So
think
the program was good in the sense that after World War II, jobs became scarce and assistance became necessary. And so we've
yeah, because
gone
their
through these
father would die
cycles.
or whatever. Like
The
they would
father
die. Yeah.
dies, or even, I'm not saying that, yeah, so that's possible.
Hmm.
But I'm saying that because of how we've structured our society, there's busts and booms. And if it's bust and the father loses his job, and he can't find another job, uh, and the family needs to eat, and so they file for assistance from the government, and the government says, we're not going to give you assistance as long as there's a man in the house.
And I think that's very wrong.
That was
Not fair.
exceptionally wrong, but that
Yes.
contributed to fathers not being in homes.
Yeah, and I think that's on purpose. Like I agree with that, but I'm saying um that's how it is. Like it's weird. If you get a job, they take you off food stamps, which makes sense. But I feel like they're almost incentivizing you. Like you were saying, if you have a man in the house, we can't give you food stamps. So that's like a nefarious way to get the man out of the house.
Mhm.
Like you were saying, like in World War II,
But
they needed it. But why are we still with this old system? I guess
but
it's just
but
like
that was not always the reason. The reason wasn't to get the man out of the house. The reason was to say, we don't want men
preloading.
to freeload.
Yeah.
So if you're in the house, you should get a job.
Yes.
And if we don't incentivize you laying on your ass,
Hmm.
you will get up and you will do whatever is necessary to feed your family. And that's what we want. So it may not have been that the implementation of that was totally nefarious.
Yeah.
You do know that it caused more harm in some communities than others, because it was harder for Black people to just go out and get a job.
Yeah, and that's a good perspective. I think, like you were saying in the beginning, it started off good. Like in the World War II, like these women needed help for sure. I mean, I don't know how many Americans died in the war,
Hmm.
so there was a lot of people that fatherless,
Hmm.
and they needed assistance.
Hmm.
So at that point, yes, definitely it was good, and it was not meant to kick the man out of the house. It was meant to help the woman that their spouse died fighting for our country.
Hmm.
So, but and that's I didn't think about it that way. That's a good point. But as we go along, we're still stuck in the old system, and I think that it went from something that was really good, and then it kind of formed into actually hurting us in the long run.
So
And
now so now that we've reached that point, I'm gonna go back to
mhm,
those companies that did nefarious shit.
mhm.
They've transformed themselves from the time when they did nefarious shit to hopefully doing better. And
Yes.
they've survived
Mhm.
by adapting.
Yeah.
So we can punish those companies for their transgressions from decades ago.
And I guess we shouldn't, right?
I'm not saying we shouldn't. We should evaluate the transgression, evaluate the progress that the company has made,
Mhm.
because, like you pointed out, we are still stuck in some of the systems that we put into place in the 40s and
Mhm.
50s, and we haven't modified ourselves
Yeah.
to address the current needs. So we're
Mhm.
living with old systems, we're living with old ideologies, uh, and so we need to reassess our ideologies, reassess our systems, and reassess um, our current status. What is it that we need to move from here to the future? What kind of future do we want to have? Do we want the government to be able to step in and assist families that are hurting? Because we have people that want to eliminate government's ability to provide food stamps, to help farmers, to help struggling people. And so we as a country have to determine if we want those kinds of things, let's stop hurting ourselves and allowing people who want to destroy those systems, to destroy the ability to build a stronger society. We need to stop those people from doing that
I
and all
understand.
get on the same page.
Yeah. So I understand what you're saying completely. Um, and it, like again, I can tell that that's your compassionate side coming to try to help. But I think maybe so when immigrants came over here in the early I would say maybe 30s and 20s and 40s and stuff, there was no government assistance at all. And
Sure, there was.
was there?
Yes, absolutely.
But well, there was no food stamps and like if you came over here as an immigrant, you didn't get that. I don't think.
A lot of immigrants got land grants. A lot of immigrants got loans that was backed by the government in order to start businesses. In the current system
Hmm.
in 2021,
Hmm.
there are immigrants that are more able to get a business loan than people who have lived in this country all their lives.
Do you think that's wrong?
Well, of course it's wrong.
Good, because I do too.
Of course it's wrong. But that's what's happening, and then the government is handcuffed from doing anything about it because we have people who don't want the government to make sure that the system is fair for everybody. They want the government to stay out of everything
Yeah. Um, I'm more on the side of the government leaving me alone. Um, I'm
until you need it.
I don't think I need them for anything. I
Sure.
think
Where do you
there's
think the police come from?
yeah, I guess you could say that. Yes. But as far as meddling into my day to day, I don't think I need them.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. And that I understand all that. I think that sometimes when the going gets tough, the tough get going, and you need to. I think just not you, but like people just need to harden themselves, not to harden their hearts, but harden themselves and have more drive, and because we can't count on the government to do everything for us.
But the government is us. It's not the government for us. The government isn't a separate entity. We have the most wonderful governmental system.
I agree.
We don't have kings. We
Yeah.
don't have aristocrats. We don't have church state. The government is the people. You can run for office to represent your district, and you are a person. You are not ordained.
That's a good point.
To be in a position of power. Position of power is earned. It's not coronated. So we have the most fantastic system of government ever devised.
I would agree with that 100%. But that kind of contradicts you earlier, because you said that the black person can't get into office or can't get into
that has nothing to do with our system of government. That has something to do with the people in our system of government.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
So you have to separate those two.
Yeah. Because you're right. Because there's I agree with that 100%. That's a good point about the government is the people, and we do have. I agree. We do have the greatest system in the world. It's not perfect, and there's a lot of
perfect.
Huh?
Sure, it's perfect.
It is great for sure.
What is bad about our system? What is imperfect about our system?
I think it's just the people, like you're saying, the people running it.
That
the system itself
is imperfect.
No, yeah,
because
the system
the people
is
are imperfect doesn't necessarily make the system itself imperfect.
Yeah,
because and I know that's kind of contradictory.
No, I didn't mean in that way. I just meant like as far as saying that black people can't be CEOs and stuff. Like sure. I don't agree with that. I think they can, but yeah, because the founding fathers, they had slaves, and that was the times, like you're saying. You know, that's just they thought it was the right thing to do, and I don't agree with it. I think it's 100% wrong, but they did put into place something that would eventually take slavery out, because they couldn't just outright do it right then and there. They could have, but they didn't. They could have, but they didn't. And eventually, you know, as time went on, I guess they just started to realize that it was fucking horrifying and wrong to do that to people.
People stood up.
Yeah.
People do things out of necessity, and the pain of people who were not represented, who were doing all of the labor, who were creating all of the value and getting none of the benefit.
Yeah.
Stood up and said, we're not going to take this anymore.
Yep.
And they died trying to create a better, fairer system. Yes. And we still, and the Colin Kaepernicks and the Emmett Tills, they are all aggregate efforts to build a better society. The things that we can do in our society can be colossal, but we have people who don't want to see that come to fruit, that don't want the system to be fair, that don't want everyone. We have enough resources that everybody can eat, have nice clothes, have a good job. But we have people who don't want that to be the case.
Yes.
Because they want more food than you. Mm-hmm. They want more clothes than you. They want more than you. And the only way to keep that, the only way to have that, is to oppress you.
Yes. And I don't think it's just a certain type of race. I think they're oppressing the government in a way, keeps a lot of us down in ways that they run certain systems. But at the end of the day, I think that what really is happening is they're allowing us to do what we want, but they're really running the show, and they get to call the shots.
Who's running the show?
The government,
We just agreed that the government is us.
But it's the people of the government, the people in government.
That's us.
Not us, me and you per se, but
Sure,
yes,
it's me and
people.
you. Have you run for
Well, we
office?
can vote. Yeah.
Have you run for office?
No,
Then run for office.
I should.
Then you will be the people. You will be one of the people that's oppressing your neighbors.
Yeah, some people would think that. Yeah, if they disagree with me,
That's
they'd say
exactly
I'm
right.
oppressing them. Yeah.
You would think you were oppressing it because you are the government.
Mm-hmm. Whatever side you're on.
Mm-hmm. So we have to stop talking about the government as if it's apart from us.
Yeah.
We have to actually identify the people who are responsible for the aberrant behavior in our government.
Yes, I agree.
Because we have great points. Freaking awesome government.
Yes.
Freaking awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
You can vote for people who make legislation. They go up and they represent you. And then if you don't like the way things are going, you can go to that person and say, hey, look, I don't like this bill. And they should respond to you. You have the laws that exist in this country, you have direct input into. You impact when your podcast, when you talk about things, you are influencing people in the conversation. So keep that in mind. You have power. You have a microphone in front of you. So make sure that when you use that microphone, make sure that you're using it for good.
Yes, sir. I agree with that. And that's a great point, sir. I think that a lot of things that's what's great about having these conversations with people that you don't normally get to talk to, because you gain other perspectives from different points of view. And I think if we did that more, we could come together better. Because I think that the way these networks, these news networks, and politicians in power that like to keep power, like to keep us fighting and arguing about everything. Yes, it's the oldest trick in the book: divide and conquer. Yes, sir.
As long as we're fighting each other, we can't get together on things.
Yeah, we can't go against them. So instead of attacking what's really going on, we're over here arguing about petty stuff.
That is correct.
And because there's a lot of things that are going on that are not
modified.
Yes, that are not talked about. And it's crying shame that we have these networks on cable news that are, like I said, getting us to fight and just made just to make you mad. You know, you get on you watch the news and you get pissed off. You don't ever watch the news.
Here's the thing. We're not powerless. Turn off the fucking news network.
Yes. I say that all the time.
It'll go away.
Yes.
It will go away.
Yes.
We keep that alive.
Yes.
We have a lot of people that know more about the WWE than about how the government works.
Sad but true.
And that's where the problem is. The problem isn't with if you let somebody take your shit, they're going to take it. And we have a lot of people that are willing to let people take their stuff because they want to be entertained and not educated.
Yes, definitely.
Your podcast is about education. It's about talking about, you don't talk about, I mean, you cover some of the popular culture, but you're not talking about celebrity news.
No,
you're talking
that means
about
nothing
issues.
To me. Yes.
You're talking about politics. You're talking about business. You're talking about things that impact how people live.
Yes, sir.
And whether I disagree with you or not, you are in the discussion trying to make things happen.
Yes.
And I commend you for that.
Thank you, Leon.
Getting into the fight is the fight.
Yes.
You're not sitting, I don't know how much television you watch, but you watch enough to know that some of that shit on cable news should not be there.
No, at all. It should not be on at all.
It should not be on at all.
No.
but it's on because people want it.
Yes, they need it. They need to
They need the
be
escape.
angry. Yeah,
Right.
they need to. Have you ever turned on the news and turned it off and been like, I feel better?
News ain't supposed to make you feel better. That's why it's news.
Yes. I mean,
One of the things that pisses me off is I turn on the news and they're talking about the local basketball team. That ain't fucking news. That's
no, it's
fucking
not.
entertainment.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's how the news is. That
Mhm.
because that's what people want. I want facts and information that help me make a better decision.
Yes.
And
And
then I
especially,
go to shows like Entertainment Tonight to learn about basketball games and sports and all that other stuff. For my news, you give me the hard stuff without the
yeah.
sugar.
Yes. And that 100%, man. I think that if they did that, we wouldn't be fighting as much. You know, and
Okay,
you
I,
think maybe
I disagree with you
you
because
think
I
we'd be
think
fighting more? Huh?
people that want to fight will find a reason to fight.
Yeah, and I think yeah, you're right. I think our human nature is to fight. Our human
Human nature
nature.
is the problem.
Yeah, and yep, it's the problem. And I guess maybe we're just doomed to
No,
forever.
we're not doomed. We're not
I, I'm
doomed
I'm sort of
because
a pessimist.
you're okay, and it's okay to be a pessimist.
Mhm.
But you're trying, you're
Yes.
doing something about it,
Yes.
and you don't just throw that away.
Hmm.
Fine, be a pessimist,
But
keep
fight.
friggin' trying.
Yes. Yes.
That's it. I'm
Yes.
an optimist simply because I only got a few years left, and so I have a choice. I can be all
Right?
oh,
Yeah.
oh woe is me, or I can be
Yeah.
hey, we can make it happen. So I figure
Yeah.
we'll make it happen. That's me.
So Leon, I know that we were getting close to 2 hours. I don't know if you have any time for any more questions, or we
Sure,
want to
I
say
told you I blocked off until 10 o'clock.
okay.
And I'll keep my word. So until 10
Okay,
o'clock, I'm
great. So
yours.
let's make it till let's go about 20 more minutes.
Okay, you got it.
So I gotta ask you, man. I know that if I even mention this, we could go on for hours.
Hmm.
So if you would, I would like to have you back in a month or so to come back and talk some more stuff
Sure.
because this has been great. So I gotta ask you, do you think that Chauvin should have been charged with all three charges of murder, one, two, and I think manslaughter?
Okay. So most of the time on my show, I talk about not making emotional decisions, but making
Right.
rational decisions.
Yes, I agree with that.
What I wanted for Chauvin was to be appropriately charged for what he did. So whatever I'm not a lawyer,
Mhm.
so I don't, and I'm not. While I do know a lot about the legal system, I don't know enough about the legal system to always say what is appropriate charges. That's what the job of the prosecutor is. That's why we hire prosecutors, public prosecutors, because they are there to study the law and make sure that we appropriately apply the law to every situation. So I try to keep my feelings about it out of it. I have a microphone.
Mhm.
Because I have a microphone, I think I have a responsibility to be responsible. So I try not to interject my personal feelings into everything. Now that Chauvin has been charged, I can say he's been convicted of a crime and talk about that and not do it in an emotional way.
And yeah, and I think we should keep those things separate.
And
And it's hard to
that's
do.
me.
Yeah.
I believe in keeping my feelings out of everything.
But I also think that you should be able to separate them, but also tell people about both ways how you feel. Like,
it's hard to do that and still keep
yeah,
your objectivity.
right. That's true.
So if
So
I start spotting my feelings, then people are going to look at me and say, he's just being emotional.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
keep my feelings out of it. I
Hmm.
I try to recognize when I'm being emotional
Okay, that's a good point.
and step back from that.
Hmm. And I think that that's a lot of problems with these young white liberals running around tearing shit down, breaking things, getting into mobs and fighting people. I think they're just acting emotionally, and
Sure.
they're just lashing out at. They don't, and then when you try to talk to them, they just go blank. It's almost like they're a robot or a non-player character in a game. They just they just like they don't have nothing to say,
Okay.
and I think that's a problem. You know?
So I'm gonna come back to that.
Okay.
So when you say non-player character, you're gonna have to. I know that you're now a gamer because not everybody knows what an NPC is.
Okay.
So
Cool.
what game did you play?
Oh man, I play all my games on computer. I'm kind of a lone wolf. I love RPGs,
Uh-huh.
like the fantasy ones, Final Fantasy. I
Okay.
play shooter games like Call of Duty. I play Diablo. That's a fun
Oh,
game. It's like a dungeon crawler.
oh
That's an
yeah.
old school game.
Oh yeah.
I like the old school Dooms. I play the new school Dooms. Stuff like that, man. I love that all that stuff. It's fun.
So I've gotten I love games. I don't get to
Really?
play them as much, but I love first person shooters.
That's
Oh man,
awesome.
I fragged the shit out of some stuff.
No way.
Yo, baby.
I didn't
Oh,
expect that.
oh, baby. I'm fragging.
Nice.
I'm getting a BFG, and
Yeah.
you are toast.
Heck yeah,
So,
man.
oh yeah,
That's cool.
I love games. I just don't get to play them as much as I like.
Do you play them on PC?
Oh, that's the only way to play them.
Oh, nice. Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
you can get the same kind of controller for a PC that you get for an Xbox
Hmm.
and all that kind of stuff. An
Yep.
Xbox is basically a PC
But
enclosed in a smaller case.
yeah, and I don't think a lot of people realize that you can hook up an Xbox controller to your PC.
Right. You can hook up an Xbox
Yeah.
controller to your PC,
Yeah, because Microsoft makes Xbox and you're playing on Windows, which is Microsoft.
which is
And
Microsoft.
yeah. But do you play separate games, like some games you'll play with the controller and some games you'll play keyboard and
Keyboard.
mouse?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because some games it doesn't really work with the keyboard and mouse.
Right.
But yeah, uh, that's cool, man. That's a whole nother topic. Video games. I didn't expect you to say that. Did you always like video games, like when you were younger, or
Absolutely.
really?
So when I started working in computers,
Hmm.
so my first introduction to computers was the mainframes.
Hmm.
I I wrote in the language COBOL,
Hmm.
and it was all punch cards.
What do you mean?
So you would um, create your code,
Okay,
and then your code would be transferred to a punch card. So it would punch out these little holes.
like an actual physical card?
It was a card like about 8 inches long and 4 inches, 3 inches high, and it would punch out little squares,
Yeah.
little rectangular squares in the card. And when you wanted to run the program, you stuck the card in.
No way.
Yeah, and then up on the little screen would it was all text based, so there were no
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of
graphics,
that. Yeah.
right? So there were no graphics,
Hmm.
and I created this little football game,
Wow.
where it would punch up the X's and O's,
Yeah.
and then it would tell you how many yards you gained and how many yards you lost, and yeah, so
You
that's
made
my
that?
introduction into.
or you helped
I don't
her?
think I created it. I think
Yeah.
it was part of an exercise that I had to do to type in
Oh, okay. It
to
was
learn
like a
how long.
learning. Yeah, yeah. It was
It
like a
was a
learning
learning
thing.
exercise. And so uh that was my first introduction into computers, was those at a university, and using punch cards to write programs. Um and then some of the earlier games, the earlier PC games they had really bad VGA graphics, 16-bit graphics or 8-bit graphics, and they were like 13 colors. and
Yeah.
and so yeah, to see
That's
where the gaming world has come.
it's
Mortal
amazing.
Kombat has some absolutely freaking amazing graphics.
It's amazing.
Amazing
I
graphics.
know.
And I love that, watching that game. I mean, they reach in and pull the heart
Yeah, it's
out, and
brutal,
it's
right? Yeah.
beating and pumping and blood squirting all over the place.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
gotta
it's
love
just
it.
absolutely insane. It's just
Yeah.
absolutely insane.
And it's so
Uh,
cool to hear. It's so cool to hear that you were there when it was X's and O's typing, and not even that long, I would say 30 years or so, what we got today.
right.
Do you think that, like you were saying, it's the same architecture? Do you
Mhm.
think possibly that the government was keeping some technology from us, and they had some stuff that they have now, they just trickled it out? Or do
Sure.
you think?
So so you do know that the internet um, was intended for. So this was during the Cold War. There
Mhm.
was an understanding that the enemy would knock out the communications,
Mhm.
phones, radio,
Yeah.
and so they needed a way to communicate, to coordinate return strikes.
Mhm.
So they created the internet.
Hmm. Really? Because I
DARPA,
thought,
CERN, yeah,
yeah, because I
the
thought it was
internet,
CERN. I thought CERN created the internet.
they were part of it,
Uh-huh.
because it was Europe and the U.S., and it started out on college universities.
Yeah. Hmm.
So eventually they released it into public, and that's when the
That's
internet
when we.
blossomed.
That's when we got a
That's when
hold
it
of it.
became what we know as the internet today.
Yeah.
So
I
it started out as a tool of war.
really. Yeah, because I know that I had heard that CERN, they made CERN, right? That huge super hadron collider,
Mhm.
and they needed ways to transfer files back and forth to other countries. So they created the World Wide Web, and that was
It
when
wasn't called the web then.
it was called something else, right? I
It's called
guess
something else, right?
yeah, I guess CERN probably made the World Wide Web, but
Well,
before
CERN,
that, they
DARPA
had.
actually. So DARPA,
Mhm.
Division of
The defense something, right?
Defense
Yeah,
something, yeah.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So I know these things because but I don't retain all of that on a regular
Yeah,
basis.
it's too much to remember.
It's not important. All I know is DARPA, and
Yeah,
that's and
yeah.
and some other government agencies in the Department of Defense.
Hmm.
Um, were part of the initial two two machines that were set up, and they were on college campuses, if I remember correctly. Um, and so universities were the first internet users, and hypertext was created in order to transfer documents
Hmm.
and information. That's how hypertext came in. So hypertext, HTML,
Yeah,
hypertext
everyone's heard of
markup
that.
language,
Oh, that's what it means.
right? Hypertext markup language was originally designed to share documents. And to show you how old that technology is, that's
Mm,
from the early days of computers. So we're there. A lot of the technology that we're using has been around since the
crazy.
beginning. It has only gotten fancier.
Yeah. So what
So
do you think? What do you think the future holds for? Do you think that there'll be a breakthrough, or do you think we're going to keep going with this type of setup for another 100 years, as far as the computer's concerned?
people people adapt to change slowly. Some people are trendsetters. They're on the cutting edge of change. There are people out there investigating and experimenting with technology that is so far beyond what people are able to comprehend. There are people that still can't use a browser. They don't know the difference between Firefox and Google Chrome. So there's always this spectrum of people who adapt to technology easily and who don't adapt to technology at all, period.
Yep, for sure.
So there's always going to be that tension point between what we adapt in society and what we're capable of adapting in society.
Okay, so this podcast is a little bit of has some conspiracy theories that we like to talk about. Do you think possibly there was any kind of influence through other technologies, like maybe even aliens or any kind of interdimensional things that maybe gave us this technology? Or do you think God just created all this stuff and we figured it out?
Okay.
Or do you
So I fully understand where you're coming from.
Because it sounds so crazy that we can do these things, it's just like, how could it be possible?
I tend to like to want to work with facts.
Yeah, sure.
Do I think it's possible that it's alien technology? Absolutely.
Really?
Do I think it is alien technology?
No.
I have no friggin' idea. I wouldn't postulate that because I've got no way to prove it.
Okay.
I am not a conspiracy theorist. I am not a hardcore conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, because there are things that people call conspiracies that are just straight up facts.
Facts.
That, yeah.
Like, so I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
I would never say to you, that's absolutely crazy. All I would say is, I don't have enough information to believe what you believe.
And I don't even believe that. I just like to dabble into, like you're saying, I'll listen. Yeah, I'll throw it out there. I'll listen to anybody. I got friends that think for sure it's alien technology. And I'm like, don't you think they can make something better than that? Or, I mean,
who's to say? So one of the things that you said was they've experimented with things that they haven't released to the public yet.
Yeah.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Government, military development has always exceeded what they've released to the public.
Yeah.
Because, they have a need, or they believe they have a need for that technology.
That we don't.
They know that not everybody is ready to deal with that technology.
For sure. And you shined a big light on me personally about the computer thing. I did not think of it that way. It is the same as, like you were saying, when it first started, you got the card, you got the motherboard. It just got better. Nothing really changed. And that kind of shows me that, no, it wasn't alien technology. It was just, we figured out something, unless they brought us the most simple computer and let us go wild with it. Sure. But it was most likely we developed a very primitive style of computer. And over time, we just started figuring things out and getting better and better at it. That's very cool, man. I think that my friends would like to hear that, because they get crazy with with where they think they're like, oh no, they landed on the pyramids and they gave the pyramid people computers, and I'm just like, okay, dude, for sure, probably. I don't know. I can't say yes or no about that, but I'll roll with that, And but that goes back to just being open-minded more, like people. I used to be real hardcore, like, no, this is the way it is. But now I'm more like, hey, if you think the earth is flat, maybe. I don't know. I know NASA lies to us. I know NASA was created by Nazis, and they always show us fake pictures all the time. So who knows, you know?
Who knows?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's fun. It's fun to think about those type of things. But also, I also like to talk about like the IBM thing. Most people don't know that IBM was highly involved in Nazi
Hmm.
propaganda, and Bayer was too. Bayer was making the mustard gas in World War One,
Hmm.
and making military arms for Germany.
Hmm.
Bayer, the medicine company.
Hmm.
And so, you know, that like that's not a conspiracy. That's just hidden history, I guess you could
Sure.
say,
Sure.
of things that went down. And that's the whole point of looking into things,
Hmm.
is to discern from aliens making computers,
Hmm.
and that could get thrown in there. But really, what you're doing is you're practicing researching and digging and investigating, like you were saying, investigating things and looking for the truth.
Hmm.
And I think that's important.
Hmm. Yeah. So I listened to your podcast um, beforehand, and
Oh, great.
I knew you dabbled in conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than say no, I'm not into conspiracy theories, and I'm not gonna talk to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
My thought is um, maybe I can learn something
Great.
just because some of the things that you say are conspiracy theories doesn't mean you don't have some good information.
Right.
We all have bad information. We all have
Mm-hmm.
good information. And I won't know if my information is bad unless I talk to someone who
Right.
shows me that my information is bad.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to learn some of the things, from you and talk to you. I know you asked me a lot about, my issues, but the beauty of it is that you're willing to discuss your issues and, how you see things. And that helps me better understand the people around me. So whereas, um, you consider yourself a conspiracy theorist, um, I consider you somebody that questions what
Yeah.
you
What I hear. Right.
hear, right? And that you draw different conclusions from your data than I draw,
Mm-hmm.
and there's nothing wrong with that. And
No.
so, I just continue to encourage you. I know it's tough to do your podcast because you said in your podcast it costs you so much money. Um,
Yeah.
but I do mine. There's a lot of free stuff out there
Mm-hmm.
that you can use to create your podcast. Just reach out to me. I'll share with you, a lot
Okay.
of the stuff that I use
Mm-hmm.
for my graphics. I use GIMP.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
That I could definitely. You could definitely influence. Help me out with that. I know you're very good at computers and stuff. We could exchange emails, and like just like that GIMP. I'm looking for some kind of thing for graphics. I have no idea.
so yeah, so just reach out to me. Let me know. I
Mm-hmm.
will share with you. I mean, um, there are there is plenty of opportunities for people to be successful podcasting. I'd hate to see your voice go away. Um, Use it. I think you're um, doing good. You're doing something that we need as a society. I don't want entertainment to go away. I
Mm-hmm.
just want news and engagement to become more popular.
For sure. For sure. So that's great, Leon. I want to thank you so much for being on the show. I think this is probably my favorite podcast I've done so far. I'm glad that you said a lot of things that that give me things to think about, and and that's what I think we need the most, different perspectives from other people, and that way we can understand each other better, and
Absolutely.
have these conversations, and at the end of the conversation go off feeling good and having a higher vibration, as opposed to watching the news and lowering our vibrations and being more pissed off. But these one-on-one conversations are great, and I just want to thank you again. Leon, can you tell them one more time where to find you?
I'm Leon Davis. Altitude Adjustment is the name of my podcast. My website is The Lions Den STL .wix site, wixsite.com/home. I'm on Instagram at The Lions Den STL. I am on Facebook at Lions Den STL. Just drop the off of that. Drop me it. The email is thelionsden.stl@gmail.com. I'll answer any emails that I can. I get pretty busy. My podcast is streamed live on Friday and on Saturday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Central Time. It's streamed on Twitch. On Twitch, you can see me at twitch.tv/The Lions Den STL. Like I said, Friday and Saturday from 2 to 3 that we stream. Come to the website, leave a comment. Your comments are always appreciated, and I try to incorporate that into the show. I am constantly trying to make it better. And so thank you very much for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate that. This is the first time I've done an interview where I'm the guest. And
Great.
So this was pretty great.
Thank you very much, Leon. I hope we can have some more of these. This was fun.
Sure. You said in a month or two. So let's
I
hold
will.
you to that.
Definitely. Thank you, man. All right, let's end on that. And again, Leon, this is a great conversation. I appreciate it. I enjoyed every minute of it, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.